okay to start with the sort of terms of the conversation? We
Yes.
sort of agreed that anything goes, and that goes for the questions afterwards too. But I really noticed on the bus on the way here that having agreed that should be nice, that should be relaxing, but actually it's quite hard to know where to go in because there's so many things, and I don't know, I've got so much enthusiasm. But one, yeah. So
Just keep up with the enthusiasm. My ego needs it desperately. So we can just do that.
No, we can, yeah, okay. We can start at the end, maybe.
Okay.
Sort of, this would usually be the last question, then after this we can sort of go off the cliff. But yeah, I wondered, having had some time, sort of post-publication, post-writing, etc., what were the things the lessons that had really stayed with you from all the things you tried in the book?
So just to give the sort of the preface, some of you will have read the book and some of you won't. It's me as a single woman exploring how to have a life with love and great sex in your 40s, and in my case being an Irish Catholic middle-aged schoolgirl who goes off to tantra retreats. So there is a lot of sex in the book, and there was genuinely a lot of sleepless nights over that. It was terrifying that I was going to write that and put it in public, but I also knew that if I was writing this book, I had to write properly and honestly, otherwise what was the point in doing it? And so some of you in this room, my neighbours, have been through all the angst about that. And what I've learnt since it came out, I think I've learnt that I'm actually very brave to have done it. And I don't think I gave myself credit for that, I think. And I've realised that I believe that the world gets better every time a woman and a human is honest about what's happening for them, no matter what that might be. I think it makes the world a better place. And I've been very grateful to get messages from people saying how less alone they feel after reading my book. And I know that I felt that when other people say the truth about difficult things. So I think I've realised that it's hard to say the truth about difficult things, and I believe it's worth it.
Yeah, amazing. That's the thing that really struck me the second time I read the book, was how sort of deeply political it is, and to be able to tell the truth in that kind of really conversational, unflappable way. I mean, that's how it seems, I'm sure. It wasn't easy, but to be able to do that is a sort of big political act, because it makes change possible for other people. It spreads.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me feel more intellectual than I normally feel. Because that's not how I see myself at all. And I love that you see it that way, because I do think, yeah, every time we tell the truth, it changes. And so much of what we're not meant to say, like, who the fuck comes up with these rules about what we're not meant to talk about and what we are meant to talk about? And so yeah, I take that as a huge compliment, and I wasn't sitting there at my laptop feeling deeply political. I was feeling very embarrassed.
I think that's why it's so good. Stamp politics, that's how you really get people. But I wondered about shame then, I suppose, because that seems to be one of the forces that stops people telling the truth.
Yeah.
And to overcome it is a really big deal. And the things you can say about that process, how it worked for you.
Yeah. There's a concept called radical honesty. Has anyone heard of radical honesty? I think it's Brad Blanton, is the American guy who came up with it. And I did a radical honesty workshop in a house in Tooting, and it was awful, and I was hungover, and it was just weird. But his belief is that actually there is nothing ever to be ashamed of. And so he said that he had got to the stage where the New York Times could write a front page article about the worst things he had done, and he so owned them that it would make no difference to him. And I kind of love that as something to aim for. You know, all these things that we think are bad about us, and whether it's sex or whether it's behaviour, or it's massively liberating when you can say those things out loud. So first of all, maybe in a smaller circle. So we've met at workshops together and with friends, you know, say those difficult things, and then maybe say it in bigger and bigger circles if you want to. Yeah, it's difficult. Shame is such a gnarly, icky, awful, horrible, scary thing. And there's such life on the other side of it.
Yeah. Are there moments you remember where you sort of crossed your shame barrier?
Oh, Jesus.
So you don't have to say.
I lived just like one road up on Chatsworth Road. And this book took me 4 years to write because the shame attacks was so strong, and I kept thinking, I can't write this book, I can't write this book. And there was a joke for a while that on the street I'd have to wear a t-shirt saying, don't ask me about the book. Because anytime anyone asked me, it was too much. And I would wake up truly at 3 a.m. thinking, because there's a chapter called Pussy, a Reclamation, about, you know, me looking in the mirror at my genitals. And I was like waking up just thinking, you cannot do that. You can't write that. You can't write that. Your school teachers will read it. Your Auntie Anne will read it. They'll stop talking to you. Your old editors will read it at newspaper. You used to be a proper writer and now you're doing this. But like really, and like there's like Gary, who's one of my best friends, is sitting in the front here. There were so many times I wanted to call time on all of it. And there are lots of chapters in the book was, you know, the first moment I go to Tantra retreats, and like if you say anything about Tantra in the normal world, the reaction is quite like, it's either like, tell us, you know, the juicy bits, or it's kind of like, oh dear God, I don't know what to do with that information.
Yes, and often it's a couple, and one's doing one and the other's doing the other. You have to navigate that.
So writing about that was, you know, the fact that I had gone to these Tantra workshops, and you know, and what we do and what we learn is so important and beautiful and has honestly changed my life. And when you put it up against the light of normal society, it is a really unusual environment. So that felt quite full on, that I was going to be writing about kissing men and women and doing all sorts, and a book that my mum would read. I asked her not to read it, but she did read it. And, and I was initially going to, she said, I won't read it then if you don't want me to. And then she said, oh, you could just take out the bits you don't want me to read. And then we had this joke that it would be like a CIA redacted version that were like 80% of it would not be readable. But then she read it, and all my aunties, all my Irish relatives, like all the people I dreaded reading it, read it and have loved it and have blown me away. And my mum, well, you know, my mum's an amazing woman anyway, but Irish Catholic background. And what she said to me when I was sitting outside a cafe on Chatsworth Road, and it was before the book had come out, and she sat down and she said, I read your book, by the way, because she lives on Chatsworth Road as well. And my sister had given her a sneaky early copy and told Mum that if she hated it, she was not to say anything about it to me, but if it was okay, then to let me off the hook, because I was really stressed about all of it. But she said, I don't know anyone else brave enough to not only have done what you did, but then to write about it. And she said, I never talked about sex to you girls. No one talked about it to me, except to instill fear and shame. And she said, this book isn't about fear or shame, it's about pleasure, and that's very important. So the people that I was most terrified of reading have actually given me the most validation and seen it in the light that I really wanted it to be seen in. So the shame, I think there's been shame lifted off actually maybe our family in a way, or it's, you know, I think when women write about personal things, and men, like all humans, it has an effect on everyone around them as well. And what we're able to talk about in our family and in our friendship circles, you know, it just makes it all a bit more allowable to talk about things.
Yeah, that's so amazing. It's such a brilliant story about how things get sort of passed down or transmitted, and it's not all one way, that our mothers might have taught us certain things because they were instilled with that stuff, but that doesn't mean they're policing it. They might want to let go of it just as much as we do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to see that in action, it's incredible. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I wondered when you were talking about that, about shame, was something to do with integrity, because this seems to be a question people sometimes ask, or this idea that shame is sort of good because it stops people doing terrible things. But in a way, if with this kind of relieving yourself of shame. You have to be able to stand by the things that you have done without shame. And so that it's unlikely that you're going to want to go and punch everyone in the face as you walk down the street. That there's something that
just on a Tuesday.
Yeah, just like, exactly, maybe sometimes. But it's funny, it's these kind of paradoxical things that maybe Tantra teaches us that are quite difficult to sort of articulate. Like, yeah, how do we give up shame without becoming monsters? Or how do we sort of control our
I don't think that's the way it goes.
Yeah,
I
it doesn't.
I think,
yeah.
I think we have this idea, and especially at Irish Catholic background, that shame kind of keeps us behaving nicely and keeps us good. And that isn't, I mean, goodness, you have to look at the Catholic priests to realise that is not the case with the abuse that they perpetrated. And so shame, I don't think, keeps us on track. I think it keeps us quite scared and twisted, and things come out sideways. So I don't know about shame as being a kind of a good force in our lives.
No, not at all.
And I think we all, and I imagine most of us, have a kind of natural morality.
Exactly.
That we're not, the punching someone down the street on a Tuesday. That's not a healthy, happy person. And I suppose part of what I'm doing in the book and what I do in all my writing is a sort of quest to become a more healthy, happy person, whether that's sexually or in friendships, or and then we do less harm, I think. That way.
Exactly. That if you lift all the rigid controls, actually you get much more kindness and much more care and better community. And
and actually real innocence.
Yeah.
So something that we experience in Tantra retreats, that I experience, is just the actual innocence of people. It's not what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our rules get stripped away, and it's just, people being very sweet.
Yeah, and their faces change as well. Yeah, people become very, very beautiful and handsome and charming.
Yes, if you go to a Tantra retreat, honestly, it's like a glow up. Everyone becomes very, very hot at a Tantra retreat, because it's like your true self shines through, and when that happens, we're all beautiful, really, aren't we?
Yeah, when you see it happening to another face, like they're just telling you something true, and something happens in them, and it's an amazing thing. But I wonder, what sort of few steps down from shame, because shame seems to be the sort of really kind of pernicious thing that stops people doing stuff. But there is also cringe, which is somehow equally powerful, maybe. And there's a lot of really brilliant stuff in the
There's a lot of cringy moments, isn't there?
Yeah. And I think it makes you such a reliable narrator, the fact that you experience cringe. It's like, I know what you mean. But so how have you worked with that?
Just thinking about one of the cringe moments is a moment where so part of the journey of the book is that this Irish Catholic background, and because I'd been single so much, I was really inhibited around sex and felt I was bad in bed, and I wanted to go off and learn, and I thought I'd get good. I thought I'd go off and find all these techniques, more position of the fortnight. I don't know if anyone remembers that magazine that you'd get up against a tumble dryer, and this is what I thought would happen. And at one point, I met a lovely man, and I was, keen to practice my skills. And and there was really this moment where I thought, my God, I'm nailing it. And I fell off the bed. And I have the flat's kind of got quite an elevated bed, and I literally fell off the bed. And so, I don't know. I guess maybe shame. It's quite important to just embrace the cringe of it all, because it's honest and it's real, and it happened. But it is a cringy book, and it's funny. I have very low tolerance for reading cringiness in other people, and I switch off watching cringy films but I think maybe it's because I'm in my own cringe a lot. But then with this guy, it was a really sweet moment again of what happens when you're honest. I said, I like that I don't feel like you're just giving me all your moves. And he said, that's because I don't have any moves. But and then from that place of me falling out of the bed, him being honest, then it just ended up in this really extraordinary, unexpected connection. So that's what happens when you say the cringy thing.
Yeah, yeah, like the truth
It can
is,
end up being really hot and surprising.
Yes.
It's not what it doesn't kill everything, it kind of opens everything up.
Yeah.
In my experience anyway.
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that seems to be one of the amazing lessons of the book, that so many of the things we've been taught, it's the exact opposite when you get down to it.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought my sexual experience, my sexual exploration would be going off and learning lots of moves, and what it actually was about was unlearning a lot of really unhelpful ideas that I had about what was allowed for me as a woman. Unhelpful ideas I had about men, unhelpful ideas about sex being this thing that I needed to be good at and doing it for someone else's service. So it turned out to just not be learning anything. It was just unlearning all of that and then letting me as a human meet another human and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And do people sometimes ask you, like, what do you get from a Tantra retreat? And it's this sort of ungetting or something.
Ungetting, yeah.
It's really hard to, explain to people who are in that mindset sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I get a checklist of questions when I come back. Initially, when I went to them, it was like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you? And it's that kind of very checklist mentality that we have around sexual experiences, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And it isn't any of that. And so it's very hard, to explain it isn't like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because what could be more sort of frightening and less sexy than someone coming at you with their moves?
With their moves? Yes. There's a lot of crying. Someone sent me a photo once of what people think happens at a Tantra retreat, and it was this like mound of oiled up bodies. That was the photo. And then the second picture was what actually happens at a Tantra retreat, and it was a woman crying. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you never get to wear sexy clothes. So maybe underwear, nice underwear, but horrible pyjamas on top, just in case.
And we look beautiful anyway.
Yes, exactly. And another cringe thing that was really beautiful in the book, I think, was this thing about boasting, because there are so many. It's not just about sex; it's about how you think or speak about yourself, how you let yourself appear. And this, when you go around the table and with your friends and let each other boast, I found that very beautiful. Yeah,
I love that too. So one of the earlier chapters was me. It was a book called Pussy, a Reclamation. And Regina Tomaschauer believes that that most women have not been brought up given correct names for their genitals, and you'd be brought up and you either don't have anything it's not referred to at all, or it's called your princess or your hoo-ha or all these twee names, and she thinks that's super disempowering for a woman to not be able to name this really important part of your body. And she says when something isn't named, the message we're getting is that it's so shameful it can't really even exist. And that can be, part of a lot of why women hate their body and also hate their genitals. But one of the things in the book, as well as getting to love your own body, which was a full-on process and I'm not there, but one of the things was sisterhood, the importance of women coming together to really big each other up. And she has this process called the Holy Trinity. And she says that women historically have tended to bond over our woes. It's almost like as a way of making ourselves non-threatening. We go, oh no, I look a mess, and oh no, just we really put ourselves down, and that becomes quite a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more we do that, the more we start to live down to this version of ourselves that we put into the world. And she said, actually, we really need to be bigging ourselves up and bigging each other up. And so bragging is part of the Holy Trinity. And so the number one, this is when you meet your friends, you should say 3 things that you brag. I brag that I'm here right now with all of you, having written a book. I brag that I'm friends with you, this super cool woman who inspires me. And, and we're not used to saying that. Like, it's taking real ownership of our strengths and our achievements. And then the second part is what we're grateful for. So whether we say, I'm again grateful to be here, I'm grateful for my health, I've had bad health, so to have health to be here is really good. And then our third one is what we desire, so what we want, which again, historically as women, we've not really been encouraged to think about what we want and to say that out loud. And it's just such a great exercise to do with your friends. Like, we do it quite often It's a great exercise, and it turns the energy of the conversation around completely. So it can be uncomfortable when you're bragging at the beginning, but then eventually you kind of get the hang of it. And yeah, Gary is in front of me here, and we've done it together many times. But I recommend it. It's great.
Yeah.
And actually quite life-changing. I really think if we were to be doing that all the time, you know, most of us could list our flaws A to Z with footnotes, and we do not spend very much time bigging ourselves up. And that she believes that when we see other women doing that, it helps us have permission to do it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think part of what I had seen, so she is a writer who, I think I'd absorbed a lot of the self-deprecating kind of Bridget Jones shtick, and I hadn't realised how much I'd absorbed it, this idea that if I was a woman who was visible, I had to take the piss out of myself. That was the only way I was allowed to do that. And so then this is the opposite, the antidote. And I love hearing women say what they're good at and what they do. I love all of us saying that. It's just great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's empowering.
It's absolutely
and
amazing.
not pretend empowering, like real empowering.
Yes.
Like, yes.
Yeah. And also really hard. I think like nobody should feel ashamed of not being able to do it.
No, because it's brand new behaviour.
Yeah. I mean, I even noticed when you paid me that compliment, I was like, oh no. And
Can we look at Anouchka's style, by the way? Like, just,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marianne. I feel good now.
Yeah.
But it is,
but it's new, and most of us have been brought up that pride goes before a fall, and no one likes to show off. You know, all those messages are quite ingrained from a young age. So yeah, it does feel weird and quite scary and almost wrong when you start to go against that. But it gets easier.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm now an absolute pain in the arse on the bragging front.
Brilliant. Have you got anything up your sleeve?
No, actually.
You've done some really good ones. No, it's fine. You're free. I wondered about integration then of all this stuff, because we go and learn all these kind of radical, hardcore things.
Yeah.
And then to come back and, I don't know, date someone who hasn't done that stuff, have supper with someone who hasn't done that stuff, you know, all those things, how you find it.
Yeah, so in the book you see me going off to lots of workshops and learning these communication skills and going to Tantra and having these quite heightened experiences, and then I come home. And when I come home, there is often a crash landing, and then I start watching Netflix for hours and like really undo the magic. The environments of those workshops and is very different to our normal world that we're in, but I think, I don't know how I integrate it. The two are getting closer and closer. I am the weirdo that smiles and talks to everyone on the street, and that's sort of just how I am. And it's that whole Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. So I probably do that. But I do dream of living in a commune and being a full-time hippie, but I haven't made it happen yet.
No, but that seems really good to stay in between, because that seems to be a real question that comes up. If you start doing this stuff, kind of where do you go? Does that mean you have to, you know? Yeah,
that was one of the fears in the book, that I have this idea of, I was starting to explore these alternative relationships and alternative worlds. But then there was a real fear of not being normal, because that was kind of really this wanting to be normal. And I was having so much more fun in all the alternative environments. I really was. And then there was a fear of like, oh God, now do I have to live in a commune, and will I spend my life like peeling carrots and doing cleaning rotas? And like what's the midpoint between communal living and living in a box and going to work, and you know, the loneliness that's really part of our normal society now. So I feel really blessed with where, like, this, quite a few of you are from this area, like so blessed with where we live, that we do have a lot of open-hearted chats. And so I think I'd still like to do more work on like being in the real world, whatever that means, and being the person that has slightly uncomfortable conversations, possibly. Like, I think, the way I talk about, I'm open in a way that probably isn't that normal for people in the coffee shops who get to hear. But also I think that's okay too.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems to be a paradox there as well, like you don't want to become impossible for everyone else. And that, could be a risk, I guess. You seem very good at not doing that. But that would be the worst thing.
I think my mother would disagree. But that's okay, that's okay. Because it's okay to be a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if it takes a while for people to understand, or for even for you to understand what you're doing. But I think it's important to try and be true to ourselves, even when we don't know what that is, and to stumble and try. And so, we were talking last night about the dinner party set, and being in certain situations where I can feel like an alien because I'm not living that life of a family and a house and pensions and and I really envy that stability in a lot of ways, and it just doesn't seem to be where I've ever ended up. I keep veering off in other ways. And that's okay too, isn't it? There's place for all of us.
Yeah, and that was really beautiful in the book, that you see women doing things different ways. Your friends are doing it their way, you're doing it your way, and it's not like, my way is the good way.
No. This is one of the main, actually probably one of the lessons from the book, is Jan Day, who's our Tantra teacher. It's a really basic question, but she asks at the start of the training, she asks, what do you want in relationship and what do you need? And I had never thought about anything like that. I don't know what I want or need. And most of us are not encouraged to think about what we actually want or need. We just sort of automatically fall into this slipstream of life, and this is what you do, and because this is what you do, and this is what you do. But to actually question, what do I want and what do I need? And that will be different for all of us. So for me, it turns out I need so much freedom and space. For someone else, they need security. They need their person there. And none of it's better or worse or right or wrong. But it just takes a bit of time to get to know what we actually want or need and what suits us, stripped away from what society tells us we should be doing. Because, we're swimming in that water from such a young age, and we read fairy tales and we watch rom-coms, and we're so steeped in the messages of societal ideas of what a good life is. So it takes a bit of time to start thinking for yourself. What do I actually like? What suits me? What doesn't suit me?
Yeah. Are there things that you thought you liked before that you think you don't like now?
Yeah, and we change, don't we? I guess. Yeah, I was a proper people pleaser before. I didn't know. It sounds like such a bland phrase, people pleasing. But I didn't really understand the extent to which I had just shaped myself around everyone. And again, I think that's quite a common female thing. And compared myself to people. And I think I'm moving away from that now.
Yeah. And
quite proud to be the weirdo.
Yes. Yeah.
Like really, like the kind of one, because I used to be quite embarrassed if someone would say, oh, Marianne's doing her Tantra stuff, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and I'd kind of make a joke of it. And now I do a bit, but also not. It's like, it's fucking amazing, you should do it. And then it's quite, and one of the other answer that I really love giving is when people, they don't ask it so much now because I've written a book about it, but they would ask, are you seeing anyone? Which is, again, as a single woman, that dreaded question of like, I hated being in that mold of the single woman that was asked to cough up dating stories. Like that was sort of my price of entry. I hated it, especially mostly because I wasn't dating, but I hated apps. And it's like I felt like when I went on those dates, I was on job interviews for jobs I didn't want. Like I just didn't want. I don't know. The whole thing didn't fit. But now, if I do sometimes get asked, "Are you seeing anyone?" I really love saying, oh yeah, I'm seeing a few people actually. I just love it. And they're kind of like, ooh. And saying it to old colleagues and editors and newspaper people, I just really get a kick out of it. Ooh. Do they know about each other is what everyone will always say.
Right, yeah. And are they surprised to hear that they do and that it's okay?
Yeah, I quite like blowing people's mind a little bit now, whereas before I was a bit scared of it, I suppose.
Yeah. But do you think this thing about standardization, the idea that, well, we have to standardize ourselves and then everything will run more smoothly for everyone, just turns out it's just not right.
No.
And when you blow the lid on that in your own life, you sort of see the myth and
Like if you look at nature and the variety of nature, the variety of trees, the variety of daisies, the variety of birds, how insane for us to think that as humans we all should be living on exactly the same path.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Yeah, exactly. And so in your family, does everyone do things differently?
I don't know. I've got a very Irish mother. No, I don't. I think in our family, in some ways we're quite traditional. You know, we've all had good jobs, and we don't present as alternative. And actually, I think in our own way we all are. And I think my mother is very punk in her own way. She really brought us up to do what we wanted to do. And Mum is one of those rare people that honestly doesn't care what anyone thinks of her. Really, she just doesn't. She never has. Yes, and it's meant a lot for her to be so proud of me with this book. Yeah. It's meant a lot. Yeah.
Amazing. She was going to be here.
Yeah, and then we had, so my mum's going to be 79 on Saturday, and her 3 sisters have come over from Ireland. So there's actually 4 Irish relatives up the road, but there was an agreement that they were not going to come. Because I think Mum, like, I get self-conscious in front of Mum, you know, so some of the interviews, and I've been asked about being an ethical slut with learner plates and, you know, just like all sorts of questions. And I did that once to a room where my Irish relatives, it was an Irish literary festival, and all my Irish relatives were there, and the average age was 85, and I was just dying for all of us. And so we so Marianne, ethical slut with learner plates. Tell us about that. The condom waiver at Tantra retreats. Tell us about that. And my Irish family go, oh, Jesus. So we've sort of agreed it might just be better if they watch it on video afterwards. And but yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's give them something. I'll try and think of something, or you can all try and think of something to the questions. Give them a treat. The other thing in the book that came through really strongly and really impacted me was all the stuff about body image and desirability, and what you learned about that. And I wondered, if you could say a bit.
I would have been, I still am, I suppose, but very common for a woman, especially of my generation. I kind of came of age in the 90s, where it was Kate Moss and that waif look. So yeah, I've spent most of my life feeling a bit bigger than I want to be, and not pretty enough, and all that just, I'm so bored even talking about it, and it's the reality of how that was. And yeah, so for a long time just not feeling attractive, and I still have that, you know, like there'll still be that bit that goes, oh, you're getting older, but again, being in certain retreats or festivals where you're with all ages, shapes and sizes, and truly everyone is beautiful, has done a lot of good for me in terms of body image and beauty. Like, I think we're all beautiful, we just are. And living in a city where we're getting a lot of advertising, and there's a lot of, you know, messages, like it's hard to keep that feeling of being beautiful in a city. I find it anyway. Like, one of my phrases that I used to always say through my 20s was, I'm not Kate Moss. It's like, of course you're not fucking Kate Moss. Kate Moss is hardly Kate Moss at this, you know, like, what a strange thing to say to ourselves. I'm not that person. But that was sort of the benchmark that, and really, truly, I bet Kate Moss doesn't even feel like Kate Moss. You know, she'll be a human who has. So that body stuff, I get kind of annoyed that it's such a part of life, and it's such a part of a woman's life, this kind of battling with our bodies and loathing, and sort of just enjoying this gorgeous thing that's, you know, healthy and can give me pleasure. And, you know, what a shame to have been at war with it for so long. And
amazing to learn, to sort of unlearn that stuff, and
a bit.
It really is possible.
It is, a bit. But, you know, that's still, because I also think the body positivity stuff head fucked me as well, because then suddenly we were all supposed to be positive about everything. It was like whiplash, wasn't it? Yeah. You were like, it went from the you can never be too rich or too thin to suddenly we're meant to love ourselves as we are, but So that's kind of quite its own pressure too, to suddenly
Yes.
be okay with everything you were told not to be okay with. But,
Yeah.
you know, I was brought up with magazines and wrote for magazines that every article had the cellulite page. You know, what to do about your unsightly orange peel, and buy these 50 quid creams and all that stuff. You know, it's horrible.
Very, yeah. And I wonder, that maybe brings up this topic that I'd never heard of until I went into that world, but spiritual bypassing.
Oh, yeah.
And bypassing as this sort of thing, like with the body positivity thing, you're meant to do this flip and suddenly like, oh, I'm great.
Yeah.
But like, how do you get from one to the other in a way that's not fake? And Tantra seems like an incredible way of doing it. It's like actually real.
Yeah. So part of what we learn in Tantra is to allow all feelings, even when they're contradictory. So one of the exercises we do is, you can say, I worry I'm too fat, and sometimes I feel beautiful. Like, it's being real about the fact that there are difficult feelings, and often there are really good feelings too. And the bypassing is when we suddenly like outlaw any difficult feelings, because we're now meant to be okay with this. And it's the same with the single positivity movement. So, you know, the single positivity movement is that kind of, I mean, there's a whole spectrum of how it presents, but I don't need anyone, all you need is to love yourself. And you know, there's greatness in that message too, but it's also very extreme for people to kind of, they're suddenly now, I've got friends who feel ashamed for wanting to meet someone because they've now absorbed this message that they're supposed to feel fine on their own. So I think when we flip anything to the extreme, it's not very real, is it? And then it's quite hard to kind of keep that line.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose that's a hot topic in that world as well, isn't it? About sort of looking inside yourself, and this idea that if you look inside yourself, you'll get lost in navel gazing, you'll be politically useless, you'll never go on a protest, you'll just, you know.
Well, you just told me I'm political, and I've spent my career navel gazing, so that's brilliant.
Exactly, that's how it works, I think. But yeah, the thing that if you kind of know what goes on inside you, then you won't risk bypassing, and you'll actually really be able to bring about change. Whether that, I don't know, it seems very well demonstrated in your book.
Because that's the thing that I often level against myself a lot, is how navel gazing I am. You know, and I've literally, both my books now have been, diving deep into self-analysis. And there's definitely a part of me that thinks this isn't healthy, and this is sort of narcissism in the extreme. And that there might be truth in that. And there's another part of me that thinks actually, the more we know ourselves and can explain ourselves to other people, maybe the better it makes our relationships and makes things. And I don't know, it just seems to be the thing that I'm fascinated by. Why do I do that? Why don't I do that? Why in society do we do this? Why don't we do that? And I examine that through myself. But the navel gazing thing, I do think there's some truth in it. There's a line, you can like totally disappear up your arsehole, which I'm sure I have done a lot. And maybe there's been some good stuff has come from it as well, I don't know.
Yeah, it's right. I don't see you that way at all, but it seems really good to be real about that stuff, because it's true. I think I sometimes have that thought about myself and people around me, but it does seem to be one of the things, because this idea that the personal is political was really important for feminists and for the Black Power movement, and looking at how things really impact you, how they make you feel about yourself, about your skin, about your body, about your work, about everything. Is you kind of really need to know it from the inside and then be able to articulate it, and that's super radical to be able to do that and to do it truthfully, and also for it to be so kind of entertaining and like relatable, and just it's brilliant what you do. I think that's why it's super radical, because it's the truth, and you make it palatable, and you show people a way to, I don't know, open things up for themselves. Well,
I hope so. That's really the intention. Because I want to write down all the embarrassing things I feel, because I know I cannot be the only one, and if I could ever write in a way that makes like someone feel less alone, or like especially younger people, you know, if I think about how hard I was on myself in my 20s and 30s and teens, if I could help a young person not go through quite that extent, you know, that would, like, so my most embarrassing sentence, I'll say it, I've got like Tourette's, I need to keep saying this sentence. It was the sentence in the book that's like, I'm at a tantra retreat and at some point I announced I don't know what to do with a penis. And it's like, again, that was the one that got me up at 3 a.m. going, you can't, but then you have to. But like, how normal is that? You know, I've since had messages from so many people going, well, me neither, and I've been married 30 years. And then my neighbour was like, no one knows what to do with a penis. And then, you know, it's how lovely, especially for younger people, actually for all people, because it's amazing to me. I've had messages from married couples in their 70s who one of them said that for the first time in 20 years they made love instead of having kind of quite perfunctory sex after she read my book. There's a chapter there about slow sex and slowing everything right down. So I think I had this idea that married people or long-term couple people were all sorted, and of course that isn't the case. But I write these things because I know that anything I feel or struggle with, I cannot be the only one who does. And I'm in a really privileged position where I have the kind of life that means I can go off to tantra retreats and read lots of books and learn stuff that for some people they will never be in rooms like that, and they don't have time to read the books that I read. And so I want to then just pass on my learnings in a human way that makes people feel less alone, and then also maybe teaches them something. Yeah. Absolutely. Because we're very lucky, I'm very lucky that I'm in a financial position, a health position, a time position to go off and do all the learning that I do. Like most people's lives, a lot of people's lives do not allow for that.
So it's a big responsibility.
To then share the learning.
Totally. And I wonder, maybe another bit of the learning that's quite weird and brilliant, but this sort of breaking down polarities, because polarization is such a big problem in our world at the moment, and this idea that those kind of oppositions are false and they usually collapse if you look at them. And I was just thinking when you were talking about sex and these couples having, you know, reading the book and then don't know what to do with the penis, but actually you do learn some tricks on a tantra retreat, and you do write about them in the book really brilliantly, really forthrightly. And I'd forgotten, because I kind of zoned out when we had that lesson, and then she really describes what to do with the penis in the just in case you ever need to know. But and so it doesn't teach you loads of tricks, but it actually does teach you some tricks, but it also teaches you that you have to be present, you have to be real, you have to be able to fail. Your tricks aren't going to get you that far, you've kind of got them. But I love that.
It's presence, isn't it? Always.
And it's a non-dual thing, and that's it's sort of something you experience and you learn. That's really, I think it's really hard to talk, like it's famously hard to talk about. And the way you've talked about it seems really good.
Thanks.
Yay.
I got asked by the Times to write an article about my top 10 sex books. And then Cosmo voted my book one of their top 10 sex books.
Wow,
and like sixth form me in the convent school, like intimidated by More magazine. Some of you won't know More magazine, but it used to have this position of the fortnight, and it was ridiculous sexual positions every issue, and these convent school girls all kind of looking at it and pretending they knew what it was. And anyway, but the idea that me had been picked by Cosmo as one of the best sex books is mind-blowing. It's really very unexpected turn of events.
So good, so deserved. And have there been any kind of negative consequences or moments of discomfort?
Yes. So the worst part, which so when the book came out, it came out the summer of 24 in hardback, and then it comes out in paperback after that. And as a writer, it's really brilliant when a newspaper wants to buy the rights to your book and do extracts to your book, because it gives it huge publicity and they pay the publisher some money, and it's just a really good thing. So the Mail wanted to do 2 extracts over 2 days, and and it's an exciting opportunity, and I've worked for the Mail for years, and I obviously know what the Daily Mail is, but I was also grateful that they wanted, anyway. And the articles in themselves were fine, but the day that they came out, I was walking past the newsagent, and they had the bank of the Daily Mails in this box outside. My picture on the front page of the newspaper with the tagline something like "How I learned to have sex with strangers" or something.
Wow.
And I'm making that much more extreme. It wasn't that, but it was something really. And to have my picture on the front page of the Daily Mail talking about going to sex school was really like one of those moments of like, I felt sick.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing when you write a book, because of course, like, I'm so grateful for any paper who wants to write about it. I'm grateful to come and talk here, and so professionally I'm like, but this is amazing. And then the real private part of me is like, dear God, what are you doing? You know, I felt so sick, and I cried a lot that night, just because the shock, I don't expect my sex life to be on the front page of the Daily Mail. It's such an unusual situation.
Yeah.
And then I got over it, and again I told Mum not to buy it. She bought it, you know. and then I was getting like pictures from friends, taking pictures in Tesco's as a front cover, and I was like, one of my school friends, again a convent school, was like, she's like, "You look amazing now," because there was a really good airbrushed picture. I looked amazing, and that's good. Priorities. I was like, "No, I'm talking about giving hand jobs to strangers in the Daily Mail." She said, "Darling, we've all done that. It's why I've got such good arms." So people were actually great about it, but there's a shock. There's a shock when, yeah, you know, I am at heart an Irish Catholic schoolgirl who's talking about sex, and sometimes that feels normal because that's my life now, and sometimes it really doesn't, and I'm like, what has happened?
Yeah. It made me think about consent and saying yes, and this thing, that I don't know, we learn a lot about it, but also this idea of withdrawing consent, or that maybe when you said yes to the Daily Mail, you were saying yes to something, but you weren't saying yes to that.
Yeah, but also when you say yes to newspapers, because I've worked for newspapers for years, you kind of, I mean, you know this too, you can't say yes to newspapers and then dictate to them how they do it. It doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
And so it was a yes to the opportunity, it really was. But yeah, what we learn in Tantra is a lot about saying yes and no. It's such a basic skill that we do not get taught. I wish we all got taught it at school. And it takes so much practice to even realise when you're saying yes, just because you think that that's going to make the other person happy. I didn't even realise I was doing that. It was so automatic to me. You have to say yes because it will be rude if you say no. You'll hurt their feelings, and the yes and the no, and then no, sometimes saying no to things because I was a bit scared of, or if I say yes to meeting you for a coffee, then that means we're going to have to go on another date, and then that means you're going to want to sleep with me, and then we're going to have to get married, so I'm just going to say no to the coffee. You know, like this kind of, so I said quite a lot of no's, and but Jan, our teacher, talks about the fact that when you give consent, it's not like once you say yes, that's just a blanket yes, now you've agreed to whatever happens with that person. You can withdraw consent, so your yes is your yes in that minute, and in a minute later it might be a no.
Yeah.
And you know, my generation, we were brought up to really not be a prick tease or not mess people around, and if you change your mind, that's flaky.
Yeah.
Whereas we're actually taught it isn't, that the most important thing is that both parties, or all parties, are honest, and that will change. So I might be feeling a yes 1 minute, and then a minute later kind of go, oh God, no, actually I need to stop. And we really get practice in saying those things, and it helps in work, it helps in friendships, it helps for everything. And it requires you being honest with yourself about what you're actually feeling.
Yeah, exactly, which is so hard, but it's amazing.
It's a skill, isn't it? It's like a muscle that you build.
Yeah.
And you go, oh God, I've just realised I said yes, and actually it was just an automatic yes, do you mind if I think about it? You know, such small things like that feel quite radical in my life.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like mind-blowing in that way where you suddenly feel like you're tripping, when I realised that you could withdraw consent at any point, even if the other person's about to have an orgasm, or like at any point, they can do it to you. Yeah. And as long as you're both in on that together, then you're kind of safe with each other, and it's a much better way to be intimate with people.
And I remember an amazing thing with my yes and no that blew my mind was, you do like these exercises and they're really like slow and gentle, but you can say, can I look at you? And you know, the person will say yes or no, or can I sit next to you? Yes or no. And then one man said, can I stroke your arm? And I didn't want him to stroke my arm, but I didn't want to be mean and say, no, you can't stroke my arm. And then in my head I was like, what difference does it make to you if he strokes your arm? Just say yes. But it was a no, and it was my first time saying no to him and to someone in that setting. And I really thought he'd hate me, and I thought I'd break his heart. I had all these thoughts about what a no meant to somebody. And afterwards he came up to me and I said, I'm really sorry that I said no to the arm thing. And he was like, why? And I said, I'm sorry, you know, that I didn't give you what you asked for. And he said, but it was a gift because it makes me feel safe with you, because I know that you'll say no to anything you don't want to do. And I think what's happened a lot with men and women is there's so much that we're not saying, and that stops it being safe, you know. So we need to be able to say no out loud, not be saying it just in our heads. We need to be saying no out loud to each other, and to also practice hearing that, because it's not, you know, it's difficult the first time you hear no's as well. We need practice saying it, and we need practice hearing it and going, okay. And so for him to say that his no made me feel more it made him feel more relaxed with me was amazing, because he was like, oh, you'll look after yourself and I can trust you to say the truth. And then that made it easy between us.
And what's your experience been of, I don't know how to ask this question, this is something, sorry, this is my question to myself probably, but it's something to do with feminism and sexuality and I don't know, and gender. And because I think I came with quite a fighty feminism to Tantra, like fuck you. And when we were told like men over there, women over there on the first night, I was just like, what, you're joking? Like, really? Is that a thing? I just, and it was like raw. And that really kind of melted away in really surprising ways. And I don't feel like it sort of weakened my feminism or made me, you know, whatever. But it's made me like men much more, feel much more sort of kindness, and that we're in this together and we're working on it together. And and I wondered how that had been,
through Tantra, because I didn't realise I was quite scared of men. I didn't really realise, I wasn't conscious of it. And probably scared of what they could physically do. Again, that's something you're brought up with from such a young age. Not being attacked and the things you need to do to not be attacked. And it was one exercise where, the men and women are separated and the men walk back into the room, and I backed up against the wall. I realised that just seeing a row of men actually felt frightening to me, and that really upset me that was, and through the process that has softened so much, because we're all being encouraged to be emotional and honest and vulnerable, and so you hear men saying things that we wouldn't normally hear, they hear us saying things that we wouldn't normally say necessarily. And then it gets to the point where we're like brothers and sisters, is how it feels to me. So we're not on opposing sides, we're in it together. And I do get really sad about what's going on between men and women at the moment. I think we're really in a tough place in society. And I would love it if we could find ways to be softer with each other. And I think that a lot of forgiveness needs to happen for what men collectively have done to women, and not all men, obviously. And there's also, like, women are being quite savage towards men at the moment. There's a really hostile climate, and that's big stuff to do. And I wonder how that will happen. But it makes me sad how things are at the moment. And I read comments on social media that from women, and it just seems to be okay to really slag men off at the moment, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's another human, and we shouldn't be talking like it's not okay when men do that to women, and it shouldn't be okay for us to do it to them.
Yeah.
Is my feeling about it, and I don't think it's helping us. I don't think it's giving us what we want and need, which is each other and love and forgiveness. Like there does need to be some acknowledgement, I suppose, of the hurts that have happened. But we're in a funny time for that, and the polarization, like you said, it's become pretty extreme. And then the Andrew Tate stuff, and we're in a weird place.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I think I'd sort of absorbed the idea that being a good feminist meant like keeping on having a go at men until they capitulate and say sorry. And it's not, in any situation that's just.
But did it work?
Doesn't make for a good conversation. Well, sometimes, but I don't know if it. I mean, it made them say sorry, but I don't know if it worked to sort of heal the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, and also I suppose I think I was also taught that you sort of keep yourself out of danger by pretending to give people what they want, and that's everyone, but that's particularly men.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that seems, that's obviously not true at all, that it makes you and the other person very unsafe if you're playing some sort of strategic game to, kind of trick everyone. Yeah.
One of the best things for me about Tantra and being in these workshops is hearing people speak the truth. And hearing women talk about the experience of being a woman, hearing the men talk about the experience of being a man, and for all humans, I think that's what we need more and more of, and is that space to listen to each other and to open our hearts as much as we can. And we don't have many opportunities to do that in the normal world. In our workshops, we have opportunities to do that, and to forgive men in some ways, and for them to forgive us for some of the things. And it's, in normal life that isn't happening. Yeah.
It's funny, I noticed when you were speaking just then that I was having the tantric experience. I was looking at you, I was feeling so much love. I was like,
do I look beautiful?
Yeah, you do. I might suddenly get too embarrassed and have to hand over questions to the audience.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been so, such a delight to talk to.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Yay!
We've got two microphones. We're sort of mic'd up. This is going to be a podcast, so for you to appear in the podcast as yourself, it would be great if you come over here and speak to the microphone and ask Marianne a question. But also, if you don't want it to be in your voice because your question is so fruity and risque that you don't want people to know it's you, you can say it to me. I'll cover my microphone and then I'll repeat it to Marianne. Or if you just don't want to come over, do come over if you can bear it. So is anyone? Yes!
Yay!
Do you want to come? Yay, brave!
Hello, nice to meet you in person. It's been, I've only read the first book, I've bought the second book to take with me this weekend, and that's made me extremely excited to read it. I won't say which bits of excited, but I guess a question for me, we've talked an awful lot about kind of what you have done and things that you're already continuing to explore, but I'd be really interested to learn about what other new experiences or chapters or books, kind of what that looks like for you.
Yeah. That I'm still in recovery from writing that book. Truly, financial recovery, because it took me so long and I burnt out, and I now assist on Tantra workshops, so I'm now part of the teaching team, which is kind of amazing. So that will carry on. And then as a topic to write about, the thing that will be next, I think, is money. So, love is in Love Me, and then Pay Me or Pour Me will be the next one, because I'm very shit with money. And so I want to go off and learn about that. But also the way I do things is quite extreme, and I haven't quite got the stamina in me yet to yeah, but I really am still involved in the Tantra worlds and holding workshops, and so yeah, that's what I'm doing a lot of at the moment. I like.
Sign me up.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she assisted me. She's amazing. Cried on Marianne a lot. Yeah. Anyone else? Are you coming? Brilliant.
I love your hat.
Thank you. Thanks, that was so good. I felt myself wanting to click and agree with you the whole time.
Oh.
What I found really interesting is when you were talking about shame and it being like kind of a cloak in a cage, and you were talking about how the book took 4 years, and what was it that made you keep persisting?
I don't know. Like, on a practical level, I'd signed a contract and they'd given me some money, and I didn't have it to give it back. So there was that practical note, but also it wasn't just that, because at a certain point a friend actually offered, because it was causing me so much pain. She said, well, what if I said I would pay back, I would lend you the money so you can pay them back. And I just couldn't not do it. So it was, the reason I found it so hard to write it was the reason I had to write it. That, because it's so ridiculous that I felt so much shame and angst about these really human, normal things. Like and I think I would have, sometimes part of me just thinks it would have been a much saner, healthier decision to have nipped that in the bud after 6 months and go, no, I'm not doing that. And then another part of me just thinks that maybe worthwhile things are difficult, and it was worth it. I still don't know if it was worth it, but I hope it was worth it. I think it was worth it.
That's inspiring.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Marianne.
Hello.
I really love your book.
Thank you, Tamara.
And I'm one of the cafe friends. I was sort of there while it was being written. And I really would love to know if you feel differently about the book that you thought you were going to write in the beginning and the book that you've actually written. So kind of have the feeling you also take something that's really, really big and a big problem,
Yeah.
and then you face it head on,
Yeah.
and you really immerse yourself in it.
Yeah.
But then I felt with the first and also the second book that what came out of it was maybe not what you thought
Yeah,
came out of it. And
it's true.
Could you talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I did think it would be really me going and learning how to be good at sex, and that would be that. I'd be a master lover, and that would be great. And it didn't turn out to be that. It turned out to be probably, I mean, maybe when you say about it being political, Anouchka, I think it was a lot more of me coming up against all these rules society had given me that I wasn't aware I'd absorbed them. I thought all my problems were personal to me and my own, insecurities, and I just needed to fix them. The book actually, I think, became a lot more about the world we're in and why is it set up like this and the stupid messages we get. And then also the second part was that it was lockdown, and so I'd gone off and done all these tantra retreats and had this amazing experiences, and then lockdown happened, and it was like all my ideas about can you be happy single really got tested while living alone in a flat for however many months and years, and so that really the lockdown element really changed the flavour of the whole thing, because it was such an extreme time of really having to face up to what do we need as humans, and I was desperate for anyone to be on the sofa with me. I regretted every boyfriend I'd ever broken up with. I wished I had a house and a Waitrose delivery and all the things that my friends were in. So lockdown was a really good, informative process, because it was really real of like, what does this human body of mine need? And it needed other people. And then that was what resulted in me becoming best friends with all my neighbours and housemates. And until that point, we'd seen each other in the corridors, but we were all single people living in this building and we just became family. And then that was my real experience of an alternative family. You know, we really did, and we still have that. And so that I would never have expected that. I would never have expected my love story to be my neighbours. That was not something I saw coming, and that is what happened. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Out we go. Yay.
I'd love to know more about the origin stories of the book. Like, when did you first get just like the tiniest idea that this is what you wanted to write about? What stage of the process, like, was it before you'd done any tantra retreats, halfway through, and when did it become kind of something you said out loud and started pitching, like that whole really early part?
Yeah, I get kind of muddled on this because there was, so after Help Me, which is my first book, and Help Me was I spent a year living by self-help books, doing everything they told me to do to see if, you know, they make you perfect. And a friend had joked in that process that if Help Me didn't end with a boyfriend, readers would be disappointed. And so that was really in my mind, that this, like, still in the world today, a happy ending for a woman is a love interest. And at the end of Help Me, there was a guy that I'd met in this month called Rejection Therapy, where you had to get rejected every day, and I went up to him in a coffee shop and he didn't reject me, but he lived in Athens. And when I was promoting Help Me, every journalist around the world asked me about the Greek. Like, I was on American breakfast TV being asked about the Greek. Everyone was so fixated on the man. And I really kind of thought, okay, well, this must actually be what matters in life, because everyone really seems to think it is what matters in life. And so I went to see the Greek in Athens, and it was a disaster. And so that was the start of Love Me, of like, why, even when I try to get with the program and do the thing that I'm meant to do, that everyone keeps saying, oh, you know, are you going to go see him? Are you? And I went and it bombed. And so that was the start of, like, really sincerely, why doesn't this work for me? Is it because there's something wrong with me? Is it because there's something I'm in denial and I don't know, I haven't met the right person? Or is it just because this isn't a fit, this particular storyline? So that happened, that idea of, like, wanting to write about this happened when I was in the Airbnb in Athens and the Greek was not there and it was a fucking disaster. And I really was journaling a lot of, like, what is going on here? Because finally I thought maybe I was doing it right, or... and all these text messages from people going, how's it going, how's it going? I'd literally alerted the international media that I was going to see the Greek. Ridiculous. But then when I signed up to Tantra, I first went to my first Tantra retreat to write a magazine article about it. And I signed up for more as a person. I actually didn't think I'd write about it. I thought it was too personal. And when we do it, we agreed to keep in confidentiality because it's such an unusual environment. So I didn't think I'd be writing about the Tantra, but I thought that I could just read lots of books about relationships and go on dating things and write the love book that way. But I didn't pitch it for ages, actually. I can't remember when. I mean, the contract got signed just before lockdown started. It was, like, ridiculous to write a book about love and sex, and then suddenly I was in lockdown. And I can't remember how... So it was always at the back of my mind, but so was the money idea, because love and money are two things that I've really struggled with. And I think for a while I thought I'd do money next because that would be the more practical one. But then real life love was the thing that was in my mind a lot. And then there was lots of parts of the book where I kind of was taking things in and out, and I thought some things, no, I'd keep for myself, and then some. So that's a really unclear answer. I'm finding it hard to remember exactly how the chronology of it worked, but I didn't think Tantra would go in it. And it was only at the end of doing quite a few workshops that I asked Jan, the teacher, how she would feel about me writing about it, because we do agree that we won't talk about it. And I asked our group too if that was okay. And I was really grateful when she said yes. But then I also thought, oh, you're not going to write about half that stuff. But then I did write about a lot of stuff. So, you know, it was a process, a really long process, of kind of a sanitized version. I think at one point I wrote a very sanitized version of the book, and then sort of a silly, like, do it or don't do it, but don't you know,
The lemon squeezer needs to be in. You have to read the book
Oh, the
to know what
lemon
that means.
It's what Cosmo rates in me. So was that a clear answer? No, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sanjita.
Yeah, we have Marianne for 10 more minutes, just so you know.
So despite being sort of 2025, it's still, the happy ending is still meeting a man and having the Waitrose delivery, right? My question to you is, do you think that's changed a lot for young women?
I don't know.
You know, I always think about this because growing up in the 90s I did as well, but that was very much the trajectory.
Yeah.
Like I sort of rejected it, it's like, okay, well, you're on the other side. But now when I look at younger people, young women, younger feminists, I'm not sure what the goalposts are anymore. And I don't know what you think. It's a lot more hidden. I feel like on the outside it's this, oh, we live this single life and that's the kind of new thing. But the messaging is a lot more layered, where in the 90s it was very clear, you were either this or you were that.
Yeah,
Now
it's true.
it seems a lot more confused.
Complicated.
And
Yeah.
complicated. So I wondered how you felt.
Yeah, I
What
don't.
is it like to be a young woman now?
I don't
What's
know.
expected of you?
I'm not
You know?
one. Is anyone young? No, because I do. Yeah, like I do, and yeah, if you want to. There are some young people in the audience, and you don't have to speak at all. But I often wonder that as well, because I'm not a parent, and so I don't know how it is to be young. And part of me hopes it's better, and you know that they are having better like awareness of consent, and you know hopefully the sex education was different to the one that I got. But I also don't know. And if anyone wants to say anything about that, please do in the audience. How it is for. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, brilliant.
I didn't really, but I will.
I teach a lot of
Yeah,
sex education.
brilliant, yeah.
So I teach secondary SEN, and consent is done every week for the whole 5 years.
Wow.
So, cup of tea. Everyone know a cup of tea? One?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, I'll get one of my 12-year-olds to tell you. You can't give someone a cup of tea unless they've explicitly said yes. So if they're asleep, they don't want tea. If they haven't looked at you, they don't want a cup of tea. So, but there are huge ranges of educational literature about it, and from younger than 11, they start probably about 8, but all the way through. And obviously ours is slightly different in SEN, but they learn about consent in almost every context.
Wow.
And when I'm doing it, the only people who are uncomfortable are the learning partner, the TAs and the teachers who are like, you know, we can do this is awful. Whereas the 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, they're like, no, miss, you don't have to. No, miss, no, you can love anyone you want. You can marry anyone you want. No, you don't have to do that.
Brilliant.
You have to. So I hope and believe that the younger people have a completely different experience.
I hope so too. Yeah, I hope so.
It's just all the adults in the room who are going.
Yeah.
To open up the contraception box or whatever we're doing that week.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure there's someone in between as old as me and as young as I teach who maybe has a different experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wrote an article this week about like alternative rom-coms. Reese Witherspoon and Esther Perel, who's an amazing sex therapist, have both talked about mourning the loss of rom-coms and what a great educational resource they are, which I completely disagreed with. And I was talking about how I hoped younger people were just having so many different kinds of love available to them. And then a friend commented, she's got a 13-year-old daughter, and she said, it's funny, when I see her and her school friends and hanging out, it's actually, in some ways it's different to how we were, in other ways it's exactly the same. They're kissing each other and they're worried, and I wonder how much things are changing. I don't know. I'm not in those worlds, but I hope everything's changing and getting better. And gender's loving however we want to love, and whoever we want to love, and whatever configuration. And for it just, I hope with young people it just isn't a big deal. Maybe everything was such a big deal for us. Anyway, but maybe that's utopian. I don't know. But then there's porn and the horrible other stuff going on. Go on.
Yes.
I'll just do it from here.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can't. Sorry.
What was it like, Marianne, from writing within the kind of context of work on the impact of the sex? So, for example, if it had been a memoir, looking back on a 4-year journey, where there was no kind of self-referencing, or at the other extreme, the kind of Sex and the City model of, what am I going to write about this week with this guy or that one? What impact do you think, I mean, it's hard to know because obviously you've done it wrongly. If you thought about it, do you think it impacted the dynamic of the sex, knowing that this was also, in one respect, or art that you were making or work?
Yeah, because it wasn't when I was having all the experiences, I wasn't writing, so it came way afterwards. So I was never ever with anyone thinking, oh, I'll write about this. It just wasn't how. So after Help Me came out, I was in this glorious position where I got paid really well for that book. And I just could take this sort of year and a half of just gallivanting, going to workshops, having lovely experiences. And so I wasn't in book writing mode. That came quite later. And I've never been with someone with me in the back of my mind thinking, oh, I'm going to write about this. I don't know how well that would work. I don't think I could do that. And that's where sex columnists, I think it becomes really hard, because when you're mining your own life, that's difficult in itself, but then when you're mining your experiences with other people, that all gets really complicated. And I don't know that I've been on the right side of that. I don't know if there is. It's complicated. So the experiences that I write about in the book are mostly composites, which mean that they're not ever. So when I write about something with one person, it will often be a representative of several experiences, because in reality there was, so many workshops being distilled into a couple of chapters. And so it's very rare in the book that anyone that I'm writing about will be one specific person, and then the people that would get the passages to okay and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's complicated writing about life and writing how that implicates other people. It's really complicated, and yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I really want to. Hawaiian Santa.
Hawaiian Santa.
I want to know who Hawaiian Santa is.
Yeah, people are really into Hawaiian Santa.
Yeah. So, has anyone got one last question? Brilliant. Is it shameful? Is it cringe? Is it one you've been holding? That would be really nice.
David, give it to us.
First of all, the book is fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
It's hilarious. I love your mum.
Everyone loves
Absolutely.
Mum. Everyone loves Mum.
My question is, if there's people in the audience who are asking, is Tantra for me? What would you say to that?
Yes. Yeah, I can go on a little. Yes, it's. When I started doing the Tantra workshops, I really at first was not saying it out loud to many people. It felt so embarrassing, and I didn't want the questions, and it felt like this weird thing I had to do to go and fix a part of life that other people were just fine with. That was the thing I had in my head, and I've now been doing the Tantra workshops, I guess, since 2018, so whatever we are now, like quite a few years, and they are just so beautiful, and the most extraordinary people, like you, like there's just so many beautiful people there. You make incredible friends, you have such interesting conversations, you understand all the hang-ups you might have, you release some of them. I can't really, if there's even a part of you that's going, oh, could I? If you could do. Yeah, and for some people it just won't be their cup of tea, and it's just, there's like no way, and that's of course absolutely fine too, but if there's a little bit, And they're not all weirdos. That was my thought. Like when I first arrived, I was like looking around at everyone to go, like, especially with the guys, I was like trying to figure out who were the perverts, and if they had a necklace on, did that make them a pervert? And then they were wearing genie trousers, and I was like, oh my God, no. And I mean, the people are gorgeous, aren't they? And so it's such a rich, beautiful experience, and you can go in there and have all sorts of experiences. You can go in there and stay fully clothed and not touch anyone all year. And you can go and have ecstasy. There's a whole broad spectrum of what it can be for people.
Yeah, even ecstasy with your clothes on.
With ecstasy with your clothes on, saying
it's
no.
all possible.
You can go in there and say no, 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 no
Yeah.
every minute of the week, and that could be the most life-changing experience.
Yeah. Thank you
Thanks
so much.
Anouchka.
You've been
Thanks
so
everyone.
brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.